Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley and today is Monday, which means it's Mental Health Monday, and today we are going to talk about signs that your mental health is spiraling out of control. So a lot of times when you're starting to kind of spiral down, it kind of seems like it sneaks up on you, like you're like, oh, I was just fine, now all of a sudden like all your shit's out of whack. So before you get to that point, usually there are a few things that are pretty common that people do when they're starting to spiral out of control. So today that's what we're going to talk about. If you are interested, then stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so you guys know I love lists. So of course I made a little list here in my notebook to help me stay on track because, you know, I love to ramble and get lost and talk about things that don't matter. So the first thing I have on my list, my number one, is thrill-seeking behavior. So obviously when you are starting to spiral, starting to go back to negative behaviors, a lot of times people are experiencing like almost like numbness, like when you start to get really depressed. So usually like when this happens, it's because either things have been the same for too long, or you know, you've been so busy and you just want to do something crazy. You just want to live a little bit. You want to feel something. So that a lot of times is a sign. If you start noticing that you're doing a lot of things that are out of character, if you never had an interest in like roller coasters or like skydiving before, and now all of a sudden you do. Not saying that that's necessarily bad. Oh, and that's one thing I do want to disclaim, is that like all of these things don't necessarily mean that like you are at immediate risk to yourself and that you should like go check into a hospital or anything. It's just like little things to watch for, because like I said, sometimes when you are slipping a little bit, it's so like such little things, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, like when did I lose my shit? Because you know, it seems like it sneaks up on you. So if you start to notice these behaviors, just kind of like watch where your mental health is at. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that these are signs that you need to like check yourself in by any means. So anyways, yes, thrill-seeking behavior, and it's not always as simple as like, oh, I want to, what did I use? Roller coasters? I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's like a positive outlet for thrill-seeking behavior, but something like negative as well. Like all of a sudden you're going out and drinking more and you haven't drank in a while, or reaching out to old friends or exes that you know are not necessarily the best for you. Yeah, so like watch out for stuff like that. That feeling of like, I'm lonely, I haven't talked to this person in a while, you know, I kind of forgot why we stopped talking. No, you didn't. Stop. You know why you stopped talking. Don't reach out to them. Second thing on the list is irritability. So irritability, obviously, I think a lot of people know that like when you start to get irritated more, obviously that's a sign that you're not like in a good place or like as confident as you could be or something. And when I say you're not doing well, because I'm going to use that term a lot, I'm just saying like mentally you're not at your baseline. So your baseline is where you sit emotionally naturally. So if you're someone who's like naturally like super emotional person and you've just been moody, like if that's not abnormal for you, then that's not necessarily a sign that you're, you know, spiraling out of control. But if you're someone that's usually pretty composed and now all of a sudden you're crying every day, like maybe look into that. And same with the other way around. If you're someone who's usually pretty emotional and now you're just kind of feeling a little numb, that's usually, you know. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I just can never stay on track. Which point were we talking about? Irritability. So not just being like crabby at other people, because usually obviously like that's something that we recognize, like quicker to blow up, a shorter fuse, quicker to take things personally when they're not necessarily personal, but other things as far as irritability is like sensitivity. Well, oh no, that's a different point. So yeah, irritability, yeah, just getting agitated a lot easier, because I know we've all caught ourselves sometimes like, what is with me lately? Like you kind of watch yourself push people away, and I think it's sometimes easy to pawn it off on like, well, this happened the other day, or my period came, blah blah blah. Watch how long that's going on for, because like sometimes it's like a sign that obviously things aren't going so well. So like evaluate what's going on in your life. The third one is trying too hard. So this kind of goes with what we were talking about in the escapism video. So if you haven't watched that, Coping Skills and Escapism, go watch it. But it's kind of the same thing that we were talking about in that video, where it's like you're doing more and more and more to try and like almost avoid your feelings. So people who pick up extra shifts, or like I know like what I'll do is I cram my schedule packed. Like I do not allow myself time to think. I'll be like, I'll go to the gym at 3 a.m. tomorrow, and then after that I'm gonna come home and make this fancy breakfast, and then after that I'm gonna shower and blah blah blah. Like I will schedule every detail of my day down to make myself feel good, because it makes me feel more in control. So like a lot of times that can be a sign that things aren't going too well either, and maybe that's like your way of either reestablishing control or just like staying so busy that you can't or don't have to stress out about what your actual issue is. Promiscuity. So this is one that like I know that it's not like really a big secret, but we don't talk about it that much, and people want to like write people off pretty easily and say like so and so is a slut. I said it. So and so is this and that, and put each other down. And a lot of times I don't think people realize the effect that mental health has on your promiscuity. So like if you are kind of thinking to yourself like, I've been sleeping around a lot lately, like maybe, I mean, see what's going on with your life, because it's really easy to look for comfort in other people when you're not doing well, especially if you're not acknowledging like that you're not doing well. So it's easy to fall into that trap of like wanting comfort but not wanting anything serious, because you're not feeling the best about yourself and you're not ready to come in and all of this stuff. And the other thing is like, it's gonna wear on your self-esteem, because like even if you think that you're fine with it, and maybe you are fine with it, but like a lot of times it's like you think you're okay with it, but like the reason that you're sleeping around a lot of times is because you're looking for something, and you're covering up what you're actually like feeling and stressing about. And so you're kind of like trying to find security and comfort in another person, but you're not going to get that security and comfort because you don't even know what it is you're looking for. You know, like you don't know what you want from that person in order to feel comfortable and secure. And so as long as you don't know what you want, nobody's ever going to provide that for you, and you're always going to feel like why am I not good enough, or why does it never work out, or what's wrong with me? And it's not you, it's just like you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. So yeah, promiscuity, watch out for that. Increase sensitivity. So a lot of times we'll take things more personally when we're not doing so hot. So like you'll think everything's about you, and you know, if somebody posts a certain like status online, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that was about me. Or if you think or know, even if you know for a fact that someone doesn't like you, you always assume that they're talking bad about you and whatever. Like that might be a sign. Always feeling like someone's out to get you, just like being super sensitive. Everything hurts your feelings. I know that's like a really hard feeling to have if you're not doing well, because it's hard to trust, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, if your mental health is not, like, it's spiraling, a lot of times you don't feel very secure in yourself. And so you're really sensitive about things because you think that other people are seeing what you see. So when you see yourself in your worst state, you don't believe that other people can see something better. Or, you know, like you're just always kind of like paranoid about it. So like you automatically are going to assume like, you know, the worst. You're going to assume the worst. And like that is going to damage your relationships, because it's stressful for people to constantly have to reassure you. And it's hard feeling like you have to walk on eggshells and you can't be yourself around someone that you're friends with. So it can be really damaging, and it's just something to like pay attention to. Like it's just hard to trust yourself and know if you're being sensitive, like overly sensitive, or if, you know, you have a reason to be upset about whatever the situation is. I think a good way to figure that out is like, honestly, just ask people. I know it's hard because a lot of times people don't want to hurt your feelings, but like your real friends, I'm sure, will be more comfortable like being honest with you and saying like, no, I really don't think it was that personal. Like, I don't know. I know that one's hard, the sensitivity thing, because I know it can feel like you just like can't trust and you can't tell when you're being oversensitive and versus when it's justified. But just like watch out for it. If it's all the time like you feel attacked or you're somehow always ending up in the victim position, then maybe it's something like, you know, with you going on, like that's causing you to feel that way and not so much things that people are actually saying. The other thing too is not just like emotional sensitivity, but I know like when I'm not doing so hot, like everything irritates me. So like I'll get bothered by like loud noises or bright lights. They'll bother me a lot more than they normally do. So that's something else to consider as far as sensitivity. Okay, number 6 on the list, isolation and codependency. So once again, we're gonna go back to the baseline thing. So who you are naturally as far as happiness goes, and like just general mood and mannerisms and behavior, whatever, that's your baseline. So if you are someone who is naturally codependent, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on how your friend or your partner or whatever see it, you know, because some people like that kind of relationship, and if that's okay with you and your friends or your partner or your family or whatever it is, then that's how you guys work, and that's fine. But if you're not someone who's normally like very clingy or kind of like, I don't want to say clingy because it has a negative connotation, but I'm gonna use it so I hope you know it's not meant in a negative way. But if you're normally someone who I guess like likes to be around people, or doesn't normally like to be around people, and now all of a sudden you are like super dependent on your friend to always answer the phone every time you call, because you know you're gonna have a meltdown and not be able to handle your shit if they don't answer. Or you know, you're calling your parents every 5 minutes with questions about every little thing instead of like trying to figure things out on your own. You know, like, I mean, and of course there's like exceptions to those situations, like when you just like move out or you're trying something new and you ask your parents, you know, you're nervous, you're scared, whatever. So it's not like, there's obviously situations in which that's more normal, but if that's not what your baseline is, and you're just kind of like falling back on that more than you normally would, then that can be a sign that your mental health is spiraling. But on the other end of that is isolation. So a lot of times if we are not doing so well, we feel like we don't want to talk to people. So in the codependency thing is feeling like you can't be alone. Like you need someone to be with you at all times. You need someone to be there for you. You basically need a caretaker. So starting to feel like that, but then on the other side of that is the isolation. So a lot of times when we start to feel down, some people reach out more and other people retract more. So you feel like you don't want to bring people down with your problems. You feel like maybe their problems are bigger than yours are and it's stupid to talk about it. You feel like you don't even know what your problem is. You're just in a mood, so it's just easier to have to talk about it. Like you, like I said, don't want to kill anyone's mood. Like, I don't know, you don't want people to look at you differently. That's one that I really struggle with, is like, first of all, I don't want to kill anyone's mood, but mostly it's just like, I don't want people to look at me differently because, you know, I do have like a very like brash sense of humor. I joke about things in my life a lot, and I think that anytime I like admit that maybe I'm not happy all the time and like my life isn't perfect, then automatically like every joke that I make is no longer a joke and everybody kind of just like looks at you differently. So that can lead people to isolate sometimes if they are going through some things. So pay attention to that. If you are starting to isolate a lot more than you used to, or you're socializing a lot more than you used to, kind of look at that. Maybe it's just because it just happens to be happening right now. Like obviously with this quarantine going on, everybody's like isolating, but like maybe it's for another reason. Like you've just been busy lately and you know, that's all it is. But even then, even if you've just been busy, like make sure that you're still taking care of yourself, because sometimes we get busy and we kind of like let our mental health slip, and that comes to catch you later. So even if there are explanations for the like changes in your behavior, just like consider those too, like, because like a lot of times that's what we tell ourselves. Our two biggest excuses for not addressing our issues is we're too busy or we're tired. You know, like, I'm not depressed, I'm just really tired. I didn't sleep well last night and that's why I'm cranky. Or I have to work and go to school and do all of this and that's why I don't have time to, you know, do all this mental health research. So just like, yeah, look at your reasons too. And just because you have an explanation, it doesn't mean like, oh, you've solved the whole problem. Like, also consider like, okay, yeah, it's because I'm busy, but is me being busy stopping me from taking care of myself? Is that a contributing factor, or is this just a temporary thing and I'll be fine once things slow down a little bit, which they will? Because if they won't, then you need to reevaluate your life and come up with a new schedule, whatever, because it's not really healthy to be going and going and going and going like that. Like, I'm a busy bee. I like to be a busy bee, but it's not good to be nonstop going. The next thing on the list is excessive or minimal sleep. I think most people know about that already, but just like not sleeping, when you're someone who like sleeps all the time or sleeps regularly, struggling to sleep, like kind of see what's keeping you up at night. Like, why? I mean, maybe you're just struggling to fall asleep, but like, why? Usually when we get stressed out, obviously we stay up with our thoughts at night, so that makes it hard to fall asleep. So if you've been noticing a pattern of that happening lately, maybe stop and see if something has changed, or maybe you need a change, and if that is affecting it all. It's the same thing with the opposite. So a lot of times when people get depressed, it's easy to nap through your problems. So I mean, pay attention to that too. Like, are you suddenly exhausted all the time? Because a lot of times I start to get emotionally drained and I don't acknowledge it until it starts to physically affect me. Like, I can go weeks not doing great and not realize it, and I'll just like walk around in la la land, and then I'll start to realize like I haven't been sleeping, I'm exhausted all the time, and then the times that I do sleep, I'll sleep the entire day and then still feel exhausted when I wake up. So like, obviously that's not normal, so I should check how I'm doing, and you should do the same. Okay, next thing on the list, feeling disoriented or numb. So a lot of times that is a sign of like dissociating, whether that's dissociating. I can't pronounce that word. But whether that's like depersonalization or derealization or whatever it is, so like feeling like you're in a video game kind of, or like that lightheaded feeling when you get up too fast and you kind of like black splotches. Sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it feels like you're outside of your body. So like, obviously when we get to that point, things are pretty serious and you should probably talk to somebody. Doesn't necessarily have to be a therapist. Like, call a friend, call a family member, call whoever, call crisis hotline, whoever you need for support, because once you start dissociating, like, it's not a joke anymore. Like, you're not slightly spiraling. You're pretty freaking stressed out, and you should probably do something about that. Decline in hygiene. That is usually one of like the earlier signs. I feel like for me personally, like 2 days will go by, 2 or 3 days, and I'll be like, oh my God, like, have I showered? I haven't showered. Like, why? I need to go do that. So like, I know what it's like to get really down and really depressed, and then you just don't want to do anything. Like, things get messy, you don't take the best care of yourself. But the best thing you can do for yourself at that time is get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, wash your pits and your pooter. Okay, wash your upstairs and your downstairs, okay? If nothing else, brush your teeth, wash your face, wash your upstairs, wash your downstairs. That's it, you know? At least, minimally. In those times where you feel absolutely disgusting about yourself, because I guarantee you, because this is what happens to me, I tell myself I'm going to do a quick little wash up, and then I get in there and I feel so much better, and I spend so long in the shower and I feel clean. And obviously if it's like a true state of depression, like, a quick shower isn't gonna like change my whole life and make everything better, but like, I know it feels like the last thing you want to do, and it's really not the top of your priority list, but just get up, wash your butt. You'll feel a lot better. You'll feel a lot better when you feel clean. You wash away your sins and you can deal with it all later. Next thing is self-sabotage or stop, and part of that is not taking your medication. So self-sabotage, a lot of times if you are used to chaos, you obviously learn that that's normal. Like that becomes your baseline, that becomes your regular living lifestyle, whatever. So when sometimes things are too like comfortable, or we feel like you just feel not right, I guess, then if things feel like they're going too smoothly or too perfectly, you kind of don't trust that, and you'll intentionally, subconsciously sabotage your situation. So kind of just like watch out for that. If things are constantly like not working out for you in your favor, I mean, we all know that person. We've been that person who just like cannot take accountability for things sometimes, and we look back at everything and we're like, yeah, like I've really had some bad luck lately. But maybe stop and look and be like, was it bad luck, or did I walk away from something, you know, or did I like set up this scenario to not work? Did I give it my all? Did I put my best foot forward? Was there something I could have done differently? Really analyze your last few, I guess, like bad lucks, your last few situations, scenarios, whatever the hell you want to call it, that didn't go well for you, and really see if you had more of a role to play in that, and really think about why. So like if you kind of realize it's been a pattern of you like making excuses to not do something, or like, oh, I messed up. Like, you know, we all do that. We all like, oh, I really messed up and I didn't do that, but it was just a mistake and it really set me back. But, and then, you know, that happens. But then when it's 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row, you keep messing up. Well, you're kind of just sabotaging. One thing like I touched on just like for a millisecond was that not taking your medications is a form of self-sabotage, and that is one that I am not like I'll admit I'm guilty of that one. Like whenever my prescription runs out, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't need to refill it, and then like 2 days go by and I'm like, yeah, maybe I should, because I don't like feeling like this. So yeah, just take your meds consistently as you can. I know it's frustrating to be on the schedule of like having to, especially like some medications, you have to take them on time at the same time every day, and it can be like, this sounds so stupid and whiny, but it can feel overwhelming. You're like, oh my god, like, and I know there's a lot of side effects you don't like, but if you're on a medication that you don't like, talk to your doctor, because I was on quite a couple like different ones, and you know, I didn't like a lot of them because of side effects, so I would just stop taking them. And then my therapist actually sat down with me and she's like, you can't just not take your medication. Like, you need to talk to us and tell us that you don't like it and why, so we can find something else. And I was like, okay, sorry. So yeah, if you talk to them and just be very honest about what you are okay with and what you're not okay with. Like, I want something to help with my anxiety. If you feel like your anxiety is the biggest hindrance for you right now, or something for my depression, or something for my mood swings, something like that, tell them things that you're afraid of. Maybe you don't want something that is going to make you gain weight, and maybe you don't want something that's going to affect your sex drive. Those were the 2 my doctor said that people complain about the most. Obviously, like, it's not always gonna work out perfectly and be exactly what you hope it will be, but a lot of times they can work with you and find something that's best, at least, you know, the best compromise. So just because you don't like a medication you're taking, it doesn't mean you can just like stop taking your meds. Like, at least tell your doctor you're gonna stop. Obviously they can't force you to take it, so at least let them know and try and work out something different, even if it's not meds, even if it's like therapy or something. But you gotta let somebody know. You can't just quit cold turkey. This is what I've been told. So yeah, that is all 10 things, all 10 signs that your mental health may be slipping out of control. All of these, I think, are ones that people, you know, kind of have some idea about, but I just wanted to kind of go over that, especially with this whole quarantine thing going on. I know it's been going on for a while, so a lot of people who may be spiraling probably have passed these steps, are in the you know, like actual depression already. But if not, then I hope that this was some helpful information. So now that we know what it looks like to start slipping a little bit, what can you do about it? So this is kind of going back into that coping skills video, which I mentioned before, which you should go watch because these two go right into each other like peanut butter and jelly. But yeah, if you start noticing signs that you're spiraling a little bit, then that's the time that we should start maybe thinking about coping skills, thinking about distractions and temporary distractions, because remember, we're coping, not escaping. We are coping, not escaping. So think about things that will put your mind at ease, and then also at some point sit down and deal with your problems. So figure out what it is. Is it being housebound? Maybe thinking about things that you can look forward to once you get out that'll make you feel better about being housebound. Is it because of work? Like, is it stress financially right now? Maybe figuring out what your resources are is something that will help you feel better. So yeah, just addressing your issues and then using your coping skills to get you through those tough times. So I hope today's video was helpful. That is all I have for you guys today. I know it was a little teeny bit dry, but I just thought it would be a good topic to touch on. Just a little refresher, just a reminder for you guys to take care of yourselves, love yourselves, keep yourself safe, don't drink too much alcohol, turn on some music, dance alone, whatever. Just try and get through this quarantine the best that you can. So that is all I have for you guys. I love you guys. Bye. See you next time.